Taking advantage of the favor he had within Marley, Zeke pushed for the government to begin a second offensive against Parody. He argued that for their nation's long-term success, they needed the show of military force that conquering the island would provide them. His efforts to convince them of its necessity were successful. Marley began to once again prepare for war, and for a festival in Liberio, in which they would declare it. Willy Tiber recognized the threat that Parody may pose, now that the founding Titan was no longer bound by the vow renouncing war. And so, after learning of the Marleyan military's plans, and that Parody's agents had already infiltrated their country, Willy decided to be the one who would spin the narrative of the war. Like the Eldian rights group, Willy was sympathetic towards the suffering of the Eldians in Liberio, but also like the Eldian rights group, he wished to better their lives at the expense of those on Parody. Willy would use Parody's imminent attack as a method to annihilate their enemies and to atone for the Tiber family's sins. By declaring war in Liberio and allowing himself to be assassinated by Parody in the process, he would make both himself and the Eldians there into tragic victims of the Eldians on Parody. He would direct the world's hatred for Eldians onto them, ensuring that they would be wiped out in the ensuing counter-offensive. Unknown to Willy, all of this had been a setup from the start. Even the very festival itself and his own declaration of war were part of Eren and Zeke's plans to begin a conflict that could be used to force the world into submission. The world had lost the battle against the two brothers before it had ever begun. An argument frequently used to justify Eren's attack on the festival is that it was only a response to Willy's declaration of war. However, as I've spent so long explaining, it was the complete opposite. The brothers' plan is what caused Willy to declare war in the first place.
Don't matter. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do it. Don't matter. He could have took the high road. Remember? What about the high road? What about the moral high road? Why couldn't he say, yes, there are Eldians over there who are evil. Eren is evil, but at the same time, there are innocent people. There are millions of innocent people who live there. We should find another way. Why couldn't he say that? Why don't you give him that? Why don't you say, Willy always wanted to destroy the world. Willy was evil. Willy's goal in life, he wanted a war with Parody. That's what he wanted. Why don't you do that? Who cares if it was manipulated or if he knew that's what the outcome was going to be or if Zeke set it up? Who gives a fuck? He set up the war. He knew what that shit was going to cause and he was willing to die for that shit. He was willing to die for that shit. Great character. But he knew what the fuck he was doing. Stop it.
To make himself into a martyr relied on Parody attacking at that very moment.
Yes.
But what if Eren had changed his mind at the last minute, hadn't attacked, and the festival had ended without incident?
Yeah, and what if Willy had never declared? Yep.
In that scenario,
why is Eren always the one that has all the responsibility to do the right thing in this story? I don't get it.
Possible that Willy,
yeah, he could have, but so could have Willy.
His entire plan would have fallen apart. His speech relied on him becoming a victim of the very threat he described. Without this happening, his words would have been empty.
That's cap, because they were clapping and crying before, what the fuck, bro? What? His words would have been empty. They were literally, do you see this? This look like empty words to you? This look empty? What the fuck you talking about? What are you reading, bro? What are you reading? These niggas was moved. These niggas was in. They were down. They were like, yes, yes. We need to kill them. Yes, queen. Look at them. Look at this guy. Willy. Look at this guy right here. What is he doing? They was happy as fuck. This man said it was empty. It wouldn't have meant anything. They had to physically see a Titan eat them alive to decide to destroy them. They decided, clearly they decided. What the hell?
With no imminent threat, it's unlikely that the world would have fiercely rallied against Parody in the same—
Unlikely? What the fuck? Bro, if he want to say that Eren was in the basement and he didn't see them cheering, he heard it, but he didn't see them, then okay. But we saw that shit, didn't we? I saw it. Am I real? I just want to make sure I'm not crazy, guys. I really want to make sure I'm not crazy. This is tears of joy, right? They aren't in disagreement here. They are really down for this plan. Am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong? They look like they're down. I don't know. They seem pretty compelled to me. That looked like the face of compelling to me. I don't see nobody in this audience at all. Like, I don't see none of that. All I see is, oh my God, yes. Oh my God. Look like me at the end of the fucking Vinland Saga season 1. These niggas is moved, bro. These niggas, he holding his shoulder. Yes, brother, we'll get through this. Don't worry, we're gonna kill all those motherfuckers. Invaderzz, dog. Invaderzz, dog. That's not a good point, bro. That's not a good point, bro.
Way that we
That's not a good point, bro.
But it could get even worse for Willy.
Woo.
If Parody had made their peaceful intentions clear to the world after Willy's speech, his entire strategy could have backfired. Marley was deeply unpopular in the global community for their hostility and for their brutality. If
But it
appeared
wasn't
to the
just
world
Marley there. That was all of the world's leaders. They all agreed. These niggas ain't from Marley, bro. They agree.
that Willy's speech was nothing more than cheap manipulation to boost Marley's global standing,
Look at
their
all these
response
niggas.
may have been drastically different. Perhaps Parody could have even made a bid to ally with the nations that opposed Marley. Regardless,
Perhaps,
it's clear that
maybe.
the events of history
Perhaps, maybe, yeah, we know. We all know that it's maybes. There were other ways that maybe could have worked, for sure. Maybe they wouldn't have attacked. Maybe. But once again, do you want to risk your life, your friend's life, your family's life, your children's life, every generation after your life on a maybe? Does anyone want to do that? Anyone? I don't think so.
would have played out very differently if Eren
I
had
sure
chosen
fuck
not to
don't.
attack.